G-Rock here. I hope you guys are having a great day. I have a new book out called Climbing the Vine of My Soul on Amazon. It's free for Amazon Prime members, so definitely get on there and look it up. I also have a new blog on WordPress, and I'm going to read you the first blog right now. Why in the hell do I have a Mohawk? Dear Rock, wanting this note not to piss you off, but I would appreciate an explanation as it pertains to your new look. Don't know how you expect people to take you seriously with a Mohawk. Love, Dad. This note, along with the traditional, nominal, and compulsory birthday check, was stuck inside the card I received to commemorate my 55th orbit around the big yellow thing in the sky. The Mohawk was just a few weeks in at the time, and I was really starting to get comfortable with it. In other words, I wasn't scaring the crap out of myself every time I looked in the mirror, just sometimes. So as much as I understand the shock at seeing that shock down the middle of my head, I did not anticipate my family's revulsion nor the subsequent fury of the divide that the furry divide on my head would soon bring about. The pandemic had forced us all into taking new challenges and developing new skills. I had never before cut my own hair, but since I had no choice, I started taking care of my own headscaping. It was no big deal at first. I had a conservative do, and after bringing the clippers I had bought in the 90s to use on the short-lived trucker beard out of retirement, I was able to clean up the sides and back with a fair amount of ease. The top, however, was layered, and being a lefty, scissors and I don't really have a working relationship. After a short time, I found myself with some kind of a modified mullet, which featured a massive pile of hair on top of my head and sort of a dusty cue ball look on the rest of my noggin. After a few months of misguided barbering, I just kind of ended up with something which was definitely beginning to resemble a Mohawk. Realizing just how close I was to having one already, I decided to dive in head first. Just a couple of YouTube vids later, and I felt like I was confident enough to go full hawk. Strapping some blue painter's tape onto my dome so that it looked like the stripe on a football helmet, I guided the clippers and then my razor around the crude stencil. That's right, kids. All you need is some tape, clippers, and a good razor. Yep, just add those three things to a questionable sense of fashion, and voila, Mohawk. Looking at this new person in the mirror was a bit of a shock, to be sure. But more than that, I actually felt as if I had somehow been liberated from the confines of my past in a way that I had not anticipated. It might sound superficial, but I firmly believe that we become the story that we allow ourselves to buy into. And I genuinely liked the story that the Mohawk was telling me. You're a warrior, individualist, trailblazer, anti-establishment, eccentric, leader. All those things are true, to be sure. Playing the part of Rockstar Bentley, I had for the most of my life been what I like to call a hair farmer, but was repeatedly pressed by everyone from close family to prospective employers to conform to the norms of societal standards and get a goddamn haircut, you hippie. So time and time again, I would do just that and then spend the next year or so trying to live in the guise of someone who I am not comfortable with for the sake of those around me. When it gets right down to it, for the very sake of my own survival, I mean, you literally could not get employed in the 80s unless you're willing to do something that most didn't want to do with long hair, like roofing, drywall, concrete, telemarketing, selling drugs. Now, don't get me wrong. I do know that I'm not just my haircut, nor does my hair change who I am at the very core of my being. That's as plain as the nose on your face. I do, however, believe that the journey to actually becoming ourselves is one that usually causes many close to the seeker to fall away, like the snake's cold, dead cells that have become dry and brittle. So do those around us who are willing or unwilling to accept change or growth in one they profess to know and or love. After all, it can be downright scary to see somebody that you love change. So it is not unfathomable that one would wish to thwart any change that takes the seeker outside of the confines of the box that they are seen to be in. Is it? Really? Seekers throughout time, immemorial, have found that expectations and precepts held by close family members were an impediment to finding their own truth of being and ascending to their highest earthly plane. Siddhartha, Kerouac, Jesus, Morrison, the Apostles' Horse. I could go on, but you get my drift. I believe there's something to this. It would seem logical to me that if we believe the story that we buy into, and the story that is continuously told to us by our caretakers is that we are not this, or we are not that, or we will never be able to do this, or we will probably start to buy into it. Don't you think so? I mean, why would these caretakers lie? Listen, I know that we all do our fair share of judging, and that preconceived notions about who somebody is based on appearances abound. But I would really like to think that we're beyond worrying about somebody's haircut in 2021, wouldn't you? Sadly, we are no more evolved than any other creature on the planet when it comes to how we view those different from the herd. As for being taken seriously, I have found that the ones most likely to discount me based on my quaff are the ones who are in my herd already. My tribe, my family, the ones who say things like, I have always got your back. Ironically, these are the ones who wish nothing more for me than to remain in the box that I've been stuffed into in order to fit within the picture that they've created of themselves and their kin. Once outside that box, I become an unknown entity to them, a stranger danger even. So, although we're created to grow, change, evolve, and envision never before seen realities, we are constantly under attack from those forces that wishing to thwart any kind of threat to the status quo. Like Bowie said, turn and face the strange. Now, whether you're strange as a 55-year-old artist with a mohawk or a white-collar guy in a suit and tie, then so be it. But Jesus, people, welcome it. Glorify it. Exalt that which is not expected in this world of conformity and complacency, for these are the things that propel this planet to new realities. It has been said that one's mind is much like a parachute. It has been said that one's mind like a parachute because it has to be open in order to function. I firmly believe that this trite-sounding proclamation to be more important than most of the words ever written, including these. So Dad's note made me realize, sadly, he will never be able to accept those things that he cannot understand, and one of those things is me. Although it hurts my heart deeply to know this, I'm better off knowing. And I only wish I could have realized it much sooner. After an entire lifetime of capitulating in order to feel accepted and loved, I must call an end to this charade. So although I know my family has love for me, just as I have love for them, it is a love without acceptance for some. More out of obligation than adoration. This kind of love is not really love at all. Ask yourself if those who profess to love you would want to be your friend without the shared surname. Would they encourage you to grow and ascend, to become your best self, even if it takes you out of the confines of their understanding or comfort zone? We're lucky if in this lifetime we find one human being that will wholeheartedly love all that we are, and more importantly, encourage us to be our true selves, no matter what that means. So in answer to the self-inflicted interrogative, there are a few reasons why I rock the hawk. I suck at cutting my own hair. I actually like it, as it turns out. And most importantly, it reminds me of who I am as an individual, a warrior, a cancer survivor, a Native American, and a stark raving individualist. This is who I am, and the hawk does a pretty good job at reflecting it. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to be yourself. Your true self, the self that you were born to be, the perfection and glory of the first breath of life is who I believe we truly are. Before all the tumult and chaos of the world ever touched you, before heartbreak knew your name, before you had a fear, before somebody filled your head with their impression of who you are and who you are to become, you were already made perfect. No, I was not born with a mohawk, but it does remind me to keep this lofty goal at the top of my mind. And I hope this gives a little insight into some of what it takes that makes me tick in the way that I do. But more than that, I genuinely hope that this encourages you to be yourself. Be your damn self. It doesn't matter who takes you seriously or who you piss off. This is not any do-over. There's not a second to waste living up to someone's expectation of who you are. Ignore the chorus of fools who wish to limit your greatness and just freak them right the hell out. For we're all born into greatness and perfection. Listen closely to your own voice. You know who you are, and it is time for you to ascend to the heights you envision in your dreams. Never stop. Never give up. If you have faith in nothing else, know that you are the only one who holds the key to unlocking the door of your greatness. So go ahead. Open the door. Be you. It's fun to watch people freak out a little bit.